Hi, I'm about the 25 books of 2025, and I recorded this in 2024, 1st of October, actually, in Great Yarmouth. And I got this book in a charity shop, cost me 99 pence, and I really enjoyed this one. I read this book when I was little, and it's quite interesting reading it as an adult. It's called The Walls of Willoughby Chase by Joan Aiken. And it's quite interesting too because there was also a film that came out in like the 1980s, 90s, which has Stephanie Beacham as Miss Slighcarp and Mel Smith as Grimshaw, which I generally did enjoy the film. The film and the book are actually very different in how it's done. But however, the book is also really good as well, and also says the film. I do recommend the film. So here we go. Long time ago in history, it never happened. England was overrun with wolves. But as Bonnie and her cousin Sylvia discover, real danger often lies closer to home. The new governess, Miss Slighcarp, doesn't seem all that nice. She shuts Bonnie in a cupboard, fires all the faithful servants, and sends the cousins far away from Willoughby Chase to a place they must never be found. Can Bonnie and Sylvia outwit the wicked Miss Slighcarp and a network of criminal frauders and snitches? Right, so it starts off, and interesting too, okay, because this book actually was published in the 1960s, okay, in 1962. But there's a note at the beginning that actually did intrigue me, okay. The action of this book takes place in a period of English history that never happened. So after the ascension of the throne of good King James III in 1832, at this time the Channel Tunnel from Dover to Calais having been recently completed, a great many wolves driven from severe winters had migrated through the tunnel from Europe and Russia to the British Isles. The Channel Tunnel opened in 1994. This book came out in the 1960s and mentions, okay, the Channel Tunnel, which, if those who don't know, okay, is a train that basically links London to Paris, okay? Right, so that's the thing. So it's quite interesting that the author was basically created a Channel Tunnel, wrote about the Channel Tunnel, before it was even a concept, okay? I mean, back in the day, this is thousands and thousands of years ago, you could actually walk from France to England. There was an area called Doggerland, which is like marsh. And secondly, now okay, of course, it flooded, and that you know put paid to that. That's basically came from Dover to Calais. So once okay, England and actual France were actually linked by an area called Doggerland, but that was hundreds of thousands of years ago. So hey, right. And the thing is in this area of Willoughby Chase, okay, basically wolves are always there. Wolves are always at the door, right? And here we are. And then, okay, you actually meet Bonnie. Bonnie left the perch reluctantly enough and came to sit by the fire. She was a slender creature, small for her age, but rosy cheeked, with a mass of tumbled black locks falling to her shoulders, with two brilliant blue eyes, equally ready to dance with laughter or flash of indignation. She's asking about, well, will the actual train be delayed by wolves? Her servant, her most faithful servant Patton, says, nonsense, okay, don't worry about these kind of things. There's people okay, basically ready to kill the wolves when they are approaching. Wild wars running ragged, okay, across the UK. Okay, right. And then when Miss Slighcarp, her new governess, comes on, and Miss Slighcarp is actually a distant relation to the family. And as soon as she walks through the door, okay, there is no hesitation in this kind of person that Slighcarp is. There is no subtlety with her. Now, when the case is going to her chambers and asks about, where's my maid, where's this, where's that kind of thing, and when one of the maids, okay, is taking a little case. What Slycup does, okay, is basically scream at the maid, prying witch, you gave permission to meddle with my letters. Bonnie swung back in an instant, all her violent temper rose, and he seized the brush on Miss Slycup's hand, and directly through the plate glass window. She picked up a jug of warm water which a housemaid had brought and dashed it full in the face of her new instructress. Right. Miss Slycup reeled from under the impact, a bonnet came off, so did her grey hair, which apparently was a wig, leaving her bald dripping and living with rage. So Bonnie has a temper. Bonnie has an absolute temper. She's the only child of a very wealthy family. She has a massive doll's house. She's been spoiled. She's indulged. And her parents basically do enable her behaviour. Now, when her parents find out about Bonnie's actions, they actually laugh it off. Right. Her mother is actually very ill. Okay, that's why they're leaving for the continent for a while, okay, on a ship called the Vessel. And the thing is this, Bonnie has a temper. And her parents have indulged her. When Miss Slycop says Bonnie did this, you expect her to be disciplined. Actually, her parents just laugh it off like, oh, that's typical Bonnie. That is just typical Bonnie, and it's fine, okay? Absolutely. So, which, by the way, I mean, in this, the parents are quite realistic, but also they know their daughter and seem very oblivious to what's going on, okay, inside their own house. I mean, people they install. I mean, another thing which is very interesting is the fact is, okay, that Sir Willoughby has a sister, okay, Jane, who is much older than him, okay? And the thing is this, whilst Lord Willoughby, okay, exists again in a massive house, okay, with a room for each day of the week, his own sister lives in poverty. His sister Jane, right? And in this, okay, Bonnie's cousin Sylvia has been prepared for her journey, because what happens is Sylvia is actually going to be sent off to live with Bonnie whilst her parents are away as a companion, right? Here we are. She was an orphan, but her parents have been carried by fever when she was only an infant. To live with her Aunt Jane, who has now become very aged and frail, and had written to Sir Willoughby to suggest he takes care of his little girl. Of the little girl. He agreed at once to the proposal for Sylvia. He knew it was delicate, and the country air would do her good. Besides, he welcomed the idea of a gentle companion for his rather harem-scaring Bonnie. Right, listen to this, okay? Aunt Jane and Sylvia shared a room at the top of a house. It was in Park Lane, this being the only street which Aunt Jane considered living. Unfortunately, she was very poor. She could only afford to rent only a tiny attic in the genteel district. So in all this, Jane's pride, Aunt Jane's pride is preventing her from basically saying to her own brother, I'm destitute. But the fact is, he's a brother. He should know this. Like, clearly, okay, Jane is his older sister. But the fact is that they're in genteel poverty because he's so oblivious, he never actually bothered to check. I mean, her attitude is, I mean, when, okay, Jane wrote, can Sylvia come to your home? He should have been suspect if something was wrong. Absolutely. So when, okay, Sylvia is on the train, ready to go off to Willoughby Chase, she meets Josiah Grimshaw. They share a kind of birth together. They share a cabin together. And interesting too, it's the fact that in this point, Sylvia is a very, very much, now she's poor, but she's also very, very genteel. She doesn't want to eat in public because that's considered rude for a lady to do. Also, not talk to anyone. At various points, okay, when Grimshaw starts to speak to her, she says, "I will pull the cord," if you will. But in the end, when a wolf actually comes through the window, Grimshaw actually kills it. They go to another berth, and it kind of wins their trust. And in all this, when the basically train comes to a stop, a trunk falls on Grimshaw's head. He's knocked out cold. So as he's unconscious, they bring him back to Willoughby Chase because he did save Sylvia's life in this melee. That's the thing. So that's how they all meet, right? And the thing is this though, okay, straight away as a reader, even if you're young or an adult, you actually know this is absolute sus. Here we are, right? Right. She told him her name and that she was travelling to a house of her uncle, Sir Willoughby Green. Oh yes, I've heard of Sir Willoughby Green. This man in 5 counties, isn't he? Sylvia, nothing of that. Oh, yeah, a fine time there. Shall you be staying there long? Right, that kind of thing. So, no, that's the thing. That is absolutely the thing. So the thing that is this, it's whilst Sylvia and Bonnie and of course the unconscious Grimshaw get to Willoughby Chase, it's first of all, one thing I did find very, very nice and realistic is also Sylvia's homelessness as well. Is really kind of given attention to. The fact is that she's separated from her Aunt Jane, who she's concerned about. As a whole kind of, don't tell Willoughby, don't tell my brother that, basically we're destitute, okay? And it's for here. She was on the point of revealing her worries about Aunt Jane, then she realised she must not. Aunt Jane's pride would not let her accept help from her brother, and so Sylvia must not disclose that she was lonely and cold and poor. But somehow she must find a means of helping her aunt. She must. Right. So that's the thing. That is a thing what is going on. Right. So in all this, once Slighcarp is there, once the parents, okay, Aunt Sophie, okay, and Willoughby disappear, okay, go off on the vessel, okay, which doesn't make it, is actually sunk. The actual ship was scuppered, right, and the captain jumped off. The ship was never worthy in the first place, okay, and basically he was paid by Slighcarp and Grimshaw to basically sink the ship, right. So leaving Sylvia and Bonnie orphans, but I don't actually know that for a period of time, right, is when, okay, the girls, okay, the cousins are actually out, and they come across Simon. Simon is a very, very important point in the story, okay. He is very, very much he lives on the grounds of Willoughby Chase. He lives in a cave. He doesn't actually work for them. However, he's allowed by Sir Willoughby to just raise his geese there, which he sells at markets, and he lives all alone, and he lives a content life, okay, right. And the thing is this, okay, when Sylvia and Bonnie are given chased by wolves and find solace, okay, in Simon's cave, which he he cooks for them, he makes cakes for them, he grounds the flour himself, okay, from chestnuts. And this bit here, okay, right. The children resumed their furs, which had taken the first entry into the warm cave. I do love your home, son, Bonnie exclaimed. I hate to leave it. You, miss, with your grand house, different room for each day of the year. Well, yes, I love that too. This is so snug. Here you go. So that's the thing. So after okay, they return to Willoughby Chase, things have gone badly. Okay, essentially, Slycarp has taken all the toys. Okay, and sold them all. Sold Bonnie's doll's house. Got rid of all the nice servants. Just keep the ones okay, that are lazy and basically came more biddable to her. Pattern, who is Bonnie's maid, actually hides in Willoughby Chase. She actually hides in a attic. Okay, so you can kind of keep an eye on the proceedings. So he's watching this all on her phone, but can't really do anything at the time. James, a fellow servant, he's also there. And the fact is, he's one of the few to stay on. But the thing is now, okay, he's more of a drudge. And the fact is, okay, he's actually more made a servant. However, he is their protector for a very good period of time. I like the subversions. Like the servants who stay, you have James and Patton, who actually do keep an eye on these two girls. Whilst they also discover secret passages around the house. And they did say, okay, oh, there were secret passages, which the girls actually find. They find in their schoolroom. Right. And the thing is, whilst okay, they're going around okay, these secret passages, there's a good atmospheric gothic horror element to the story, which I actually really, really liked. They actually see through the actual walls and paintings and that kind of stuff. Here we are. Right, because they find out, okay, that the actual Sir Philip Willoughby actually left his will in the house. Here we are. The legacy of £20,000 a year service to his niece, a few hundred to me in gratitude for my service, pa, and some travelling bequest to servants, mentions to his sister, my distant cousin. Shall I to come poking her nose and being troublesome? Well, they're like, no, because, here you go. Now, I made inquiries about her when I was in London, said Grimshaw. She was entirely elderly and unworldly. Moreover, she is frail and likely to last long. She don't interfere with our management of the estate. So they burned the will. Now, in the film, the will, these girls actually, whilst the will is being burned, managed to get through a secret passage and actually retrieve the will. It's not intact, okay, but it's legible. And they hide it in Annabelle, which is Bonnie's, sorry, that's Sylvia's doll, her little doll, which tells her that it's tiny. So she kept it with her the entire time. And she hides the will in Annabelle. Right. It doesn't happen here. It's a nice little difference, okay, compared to book and film. I did like the way, okay, the film actually incorporated Annabelle a little bit more, okay? Because in that, the Aunt Jane is basically, please try to get rid of Annabelle. Go out of Annabelle. She always has Annabelle with her. So, yes. So in this though, the will is absolutely destroyed. Absolutely. Okay. So in all this, as they're finding back towards Slighcarp, okay, they try to get the doctor involved, but of course, Miss Slighcarp comes across a letter and actually pays the doctor off saying, "Oh, the girl's just being stupid. Okay, here's some coins for your trouble for actually coming out here. They're not sick, that kind of thing. They pretended they were sick, and in that, so." What happens is after this, okay, with the vessel sunk, and of course Bonnie and Sylvia, well, Sylvia already was an orphan, now Bonnie is. It's she sends them off to a laundress, okay, right. And the thing is this, right? It's puts them on a carriage and takes them away. Here we are. Long before the end of the trip, they were almost dead of cold. Then their feet were like lumps of ice. So Miss Slighcarp had all of her carried drugs, had to man herself, and the children had to make do without. They were too cold to sleep, and they could almost wish for an attack for wolves, but save for occasional distant howl, the passage was undisturbed. See, Miss Slighcarp was right when she said that wolves feared to attack her. Right, I kind of like that in many, many respects. Like, in this, wolves attack absolutely anyone, but Miss Slighcarp is so wicked that even wolves won't go near her. Now, so the version from the film is that in the ending of the film, Slighcarp actually runs off, and the wolves actually chase after her, and actually that's how her life ends. It doesn't happen here. Now some versions coming up, which I will discuss. But in this, suddenly, especially now Sylvia is very, very quite fragile. However, Bonnie is quite spoiled and titled, and she speaks back, and she is essentially enabled, right? But the thing is this: when the Kay is sent to Gertrude, okay, and is this when they send the Kay to the new instructor's Gertrude, is this bit here, okay, right? These little children, Gertrude, Miss Slighcarp said, that one point Sylvia is tractable enough and lazy and whiny and disposed to malinger. This one, indicating Bonnie, is thoroughly insolent and ungovernable and will need constant checking and keeping down. I'm not. She's not, bursts from Sylvia, Bonnie and Sylvia simultaneously. And Miss Brisket, that's Gertrude, checked them with a glare. Well, right now you're 98 and you're 99. You are numbered as a laundress and they are put to work. They are absolutely put to work. Okay, it's a laundress, essentially, okay, they have to basically wash all the clothes for this district of London. It all comes to them. They get absolutely mad. They're given gruel, they're spoiled, they have to clean, they have to cook. They suffer greatly. They suffer so much in this, okay? And when it comes, okay, to Diana Brisket, now Diana Brisket is the daughter of Mrs. Brisket, okay, the governess of this laundress, okay, the owner of the laundress. Actually, in the book, it's a boy. His name was Rupert. I do remember that. His name was Rupert. It was a boy, not a girl, okay? It was Rupert, not Diana. And one thing is very interesting, okay, because in the actual film, Rupert dies. The actual mangle that, they said, never put your fingers in. He actually falls into the mangle, and that's how he meets his demise. It doesn't happen here, okay? It absolutely doesn't happen here. Here we are. Right. Sylvia was obliged to miss her tea. She had been given the task of dress of Diana Brisket's demand, and a task taxed her even a skillful needle, so disgracefully torn with delicate flounces. Her head ached, and her cold fingers were less nimble than usual. Consequently, the dress was not finished when Diana wanted it. She flew into a passion, slapped Sylvia, and told her mother that number 98 was lazy and refused to work. In consequence, Sylvia had to stand at the back of the dining room with the other wrongdoers at tea time, while Sylvia burned with some sympathetic fury. So, but the thing is all this, actually find an ally that Simon has tracked them down. Simon, okay, remember, he came into London, okay, to sell his geese, and he hears their plight and comes to their rescue. He starts to leave eggs for them. Eggs, okay, to keep them healthy. Remember, okay, he has geese laying eggs, so he leaves eggs at various places for them, okay, to actually find. And in all this is to actually get them both healthy, and always get they're suffering greatly. They are absolutely suffering greatly. And the thing is this, okay, when Diana comes across Bonnie with an egg in her pocket where it actually gets crushed, right, slaps Bonnie around the face with it, okay, here we are, basically thinking that, okay, that calls Bonnie stealing from the Briskets, but she's not. It's someone's leaving his eggs for her while they figure out a strategy, okay, to get them out, right. And one thing I absolutely love, now the film's got more kind of mystical elements about this, more of a gothic horror, just as a thread of realism running through, which I actually do appreciate. Here we are. And also this bit here. 6 months ago, Bonnie would have slapped her back heartily, but she was learning patience and self-command. To be embroiled in a struggle with Diana was not part of a plan, though she longed to box the girl's ears. Right. I was taking it to Sylvia. Your mother's starving her to death. She has nothing to eat all day but 2 onions. Is that a business of yours? Very well, since you can look after Sylvia so well, you shall look after her. You can look after each other in the coal cellar. Right. So what they do is lock them in the coal cellar, but by fortune favours the bold. Good coincidence. That's the day, okay, Simon's left them, okay, with boys' clothes, and they are able to sneak out. They are able to escape, dressed up as boys, okay, and with Sylvia, actually very ill. They are on their travels, finding people along the way, okay, to help them. Interesting too, okay, because this little subplot, okay, with Simon, who, okay, because Simon's gone back to Willoughby Chase, met Patton, and managed to get all these objects out, okay, and here we are, okay. Patton has smuggled 1 or 2 books and Bonnie's paint box from the attic out to the cart with the food and clothes. They are a great resource of rainy evenings in the hay. They read aloud to each other, and Simon, who never bothered about reading before, learned how, and he pronounced it quite a hardy accomplishment. Also took a keen pleasure in making use of Bonnie's box of colours, and sometimes could be hardly torn away from some view of a crag or waterfall his busy sketching. The girls would wander slowly on with the cart and the geese till Simon finished at last. Right, here you go. So in all this, okay, whilst they're getting back, that's going to take some time. Okay, Sylvia is still weak. Actually finds solace with a farmer first, and then further along other people. Okay, and the thing is this: it's the fact that trying to get back to Willoughby Chase. It's various sort of elements, okay, actually taking them time. Not as if okay to get back to straight away. I mean, it's a bit okay where, okay, they actually wound up okay on Hampstead Heath, right. Right, they're camping out, okay, on Hampstead Heath with a tribe of Romany, okay. And the thing is this, right, it's the fact that this has been total transformation on both of them when they're scrutinising themselves. Here we are, right. The bad looks were deciding wanting to cut it, and why Sylvia were hardly recognised for the thin, pale-faced child who set out from Willoughby Chase so many months ago. Her cheeks were pink, her hair, though it's not its original length, was thick and shiny and reached to her shoulders. Right. So they've had totally changed, transfer. And one thing is always the case, Sylvia actually shows more of a backbone in this. In this case, as Bonnie was the, you know, basically it was her house, but in this case, Sylvia is standing up more. In the film, it does actually reflect more, okay? In this case, almost subtle. But in all this, they actually go to Aunt Jane, okay? And also the doctor who lives right under them, yeah, coincidence, who basically they have to stay at Aunt Jane's to actually get her healthy because she actually is starving to death. She essentially, okay, has lost her will to live, so she's malnourished. So the doctor, okay, because Aunt Jane refused help from the doctor, but essentially they have to get her healthy before they can go on to Willoughby Chase. Essentially, before they get to their final destination, they have to get all their allies in total. Get all their allies there, which they are going to need because Grimshaw actually shows up at the house. Grimshaw shows up at the house, but as Simon's geese are in the house, Simon's geese attack and Grimshaw's actually tied up. Now, once again, for the reason running through this novel, okay, about how to kind of defeat the bad guys. In the film, okay, it's much more. The girls are literally actually one of attacking Slighcarp back in Willoughby Chase. This has an element of the realism about it, right? Okay. So the thing is this, okay. Also, Simon has been intrigued. So the doctor, which cures Aunt Jane, is actually intrigued, okay, by Simon's paintings. He's a painter himself, and essentially goes on to actually adopt Simon, okay, and they're going to paint together. Simon's going to become a painter. That's his goal. So he's actually going to stay with the doctor. So he's got his future sussed, okay. And the thing is this: everything is disclosed by going to a solicitor's office. Unlike the film, much different. Okay, here we go. Right. And it turns out, okay, that Grimshaw used to work for the solicitors for the Willoughby family and forged loads of documents with Slighcarp. Here we are. And when, okay, is a sort of, why did you go, okay, to Aunt Jane's house at 3 o'clock in the morning? And they don't even believe it for a second at the solicitor's office. Once again, the realism. 3 o'clock in the morning, a fine story. More likely you want to terrify her into signing some document that gave you power over the children. It's about the teacher Slighcarp, responsible for sending that female fiend to feather her nest at Willoughby Chase. Okay? And it turns out that all these documents are forgeries. You absolutely know they're forgeries. Okay? And here's bit here. And the thing is, Bonnie says to us as solicitors, Miss Slighcarp has taken our whole house for her, dismissed all the servants, set me and my cousins live at a school that is no better than a workhouse or prison, and treated us with miserable cruelty. I believe that she and Mr. Slighcarp had some hand in seeing Papa and Mama sent sail on a ship that was known to be likely to sink. And they're like, oh Christ, it's such bad business, we better go with them back to Willoughby Chase. We better go with them back to Willoughby Chase. And when they get there, they find out, okay, that Willoughby Chase has been turned into a school. Right. What it is, okay, is all like these orphans, and also, okay, been sent to the schools where I'm basically working in this house, right? Nothing really changes. And turns out that Willoughby Chase has been turned into a school, right? Now, the original plan, okay, the ship didn't sink, okay, was for what was a way, okay, for Slighcarp to basically rip it off. But when the ship did sink, she put a plan to action, right? Willoughby Chase School, a select seminary for the daughters of gentlemen and nobilities, principals and parlour boarders, principals Miss L. Slighcarp and Mrs. Brisket. Right, so once, okay, they get there, it's the solicitors, okay, who actually, you know, take over. Right, as soon as, okay, they walk through the door, Slighcarp is there, okay, and she's standing there, and actually that's the illustration in the book, okay, of Slighcarp standing there, and the girls. So you think, okay, they're going to wind up in the dungeon. Turns out, no, a solicitor walks in. A solicitor walks in, okay, with all the authorities. That's what happens. Here we are, right. But the thing is this, okay, in order to this point, the solicitor has actually been in these secret passages to actually surmise the situation. But whilst the girls walked in, so I forgot to mention that. Right. What are you doing, sir? Let me go at once. What are you doing in my house? In your house, Mum? In your house? Don't you remember Miss Slighcarp? I was eternally instructed by a distant relative, Sir Willoughby Green, to seek around and offer you the position of instructress to his daughter. You brought with you testimony from Duchess of Kensington, don't you remember? And I gave you permission, woman, to turn this house into a boarding school. You said you could use these children with villainous cruelty, beat them, starve them, and lock them up in dungeons. I don't use to protest. I heard that panel and I heard every word you've uttered. Okay? But the thing is this, right, is Slighcarp is a joke, and then okay, Biscuit shows up again and says, "Oh, so there's more children in the dungeons, but I've got keys to the other one." Right. So it actually ends with them being arrested. It ends with them being arrested, and then at that moment, um, the there would be parents walk through the door. They survived the ship, the sinking of the ship, and wound upon a tropical island, and they've been absolutely fine, okay, waiting for their rescue. So they're all fine and healthy. And once again, okay, it's the fact that they've been away, okay, for about 8 months by this point. But the thing is, once again, okay, Sir Willoughby shows his obliviousness, okay, to the situation, right? You know, walked in, okay, would have walked in, okay, to his house, seeing that sign, okay, it's now a school, parlour school for girls, and so parlour school. And here we are. Well, a gay voice again was my second daughter, and this swept someone Sylvia would hardly recognise. But a fair languid Lady Green, sublimely beautiful and bright-eyed, did appear. She raised Sylvia accordingly, made welcome to two poor prisoners, and declared, "Now I want to hear every story, every word from the very beginning, and I'm proud of you. As though as for that Miss Slighcarp, cousin of your father, though, I hope she'll be sent to Botany Bay." And what they're going to do is Aunt Jane is going to come to Willoughby and actually work in a school, basically oversee the school. All the other orphans are going to be let loose from being drudges, and actually a school is going to be built, okay, and turned into, okay, on the estate, and they are going to learn a trade and actually get an education. While Simon is in London with the doctor getting one of his own. But to be honest, okay, overall, apart from how useless, okay, Lord Willoughby is, if he'd done some more checking, okay, everything would have been avoided. The fact is, again, if he left his will behind, but the fact is, he stored all this, and also as soon as he gets back, he basically laughs it off. Now, his children, okay, he does actually call Sylvia K his other daughter. So the fact that he's so like he basically laughs it off. It's like, oh, you had an adventure. I'm going to all turn out okay. Sorry, these two girls, okay, were starving for 6 months. Right, and literally were physically abused. But his attitude is to basically laugh, oh, well, all world ends now, we're home now, and we can go back to normal. Sorry, Sylvia and Bonnie have been left, okay, with a lot of trauma, which now, okay, they have to get over. And it's going to take a while for them. And in this, okay, I did actually think the wolves were going to come and essentially kill Slighcarp, as they did in the film. That didn't happen, she was just arrested. However, the wolves of Willoughby Chase has two meanings. It's obviously, okay, keep the wolf from the door, keep dangers away from your house, okay, which the actual Willoughbys failed to do. They actually let the wolf in the door, and those, okay, the actual wolves are the countryside, okay. So I mean, in this, okay, in all this, Slighcarp is the wolf, right? I mean, she's basically a wolf, okay, that basically other wolves won't go near. So, however, I really, really did enjoy this book. It's impressive, it's different, it's fun, and one thing is this: is the gothic atmosphere. This is a marvelous book, okay, for young adults, and there was a Willoughby Chase. And also, it kind of shows, okay, what it was like, okay, for orphans at this time period, okay, if they were sent to places. I mean, one of the most famous cases is Oliver Twist. But anyway, I'm signing off here. Bye now.